saw the promo for this and a trailer, because sometimes Showtime does those, like, it's very quick clips, and I like the actress, and so I was like, oh, and I was home alone one day and I'm like, let me watch it. So it is Showtime's Woman in the Wall.
Oh.
And it was originally a BBC One series. It's, I think, 6 episodes. Takes place in Ireland in 2015, I think is the year. And the lead character, played by Ruth Wilson, who you may know from The Affair on Showtime.
Sure.
Lorna Brady. And she does have her accent. And Ruth Wilson plays a very good sort of traumatized human being, like where there's an underbelly, a backstory, which I've said a few times this episode, but, of like, what is going on? Because the opening scene is she appears to be passed out in the middle of, a very Irish road with a stone wall and literally like beautiful cows going by her to the dairy farm, and she wakes up in the middle of the road like, where am I?
Mm-hmm.
And
that is mysterious.
What happened? She does such a good balance of bewildered, betrayed, beat up, and pissed. I mean, the whole thing was worth watching for her. Now, it's Showtime, so it's not all available at once. So I think we're only into like 2 or 3 weeks of it. And it's basically inspired by true events, which is awful, which is the Catholic laundries. It was called the Magdalene Laundries. And this one in particular was located in an Irish town called Killickirnir. I mean, I don't know if I'm getting it right.
I really appreciate
your Lucky Charms. I don't know if I'm getting it right.
Amazing.
But
have a shot of Bailey's and try it again.
Yes.
You'll be fine.
Bailey's my favorite.
Yeah. So maybe I should take some shots of Bailey before I try to pronounce that. But it takes place in an Irish town where one of these laundries were located. And the women there are basically traumatized by these Irish Catholic homes for girls that maybe had been in trouble, and that really meant that you were pregnant and you were taken to these homes for forced labor.
Yeah.
And then you were, ironically, then gave labor there, and your babies were taken away, never to be seen from again. Even if you wanted to keep your baby, it was almost not an option. And they've reported that thousands of kids through the different laundries in multiple towns were taken. And there's also rumors there's mass graves. I mean, they're now in today's times with our social media and news reporting are discovering more and more of the atrocities that happen there.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah. So the lead character, Lorna, is obviously experienced trauma, and she's having blackouts and sleepwalking from it. And there are murders that start happening. And is she to blame for them? Is someone else?
Oh.
So we're watching her sleepwalk and committing acts of vandalism or possibly worse. And that's when a detective comes into town based on another murder. And that is the Detective Coleman, played by Daryl McCormack. And some of you may know him from Peaky Blinders.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. And he has a backstory, too, of maybe with the priest involved.
Oh, geez.
Now, there hasn't... there's flashbacks, but we're not getting full reveal yet of what they are. Because a lot of things that happened, and those, we were all raised Catholic. So watching this, and even, the Catholic, the abuse scandals that have come out, and obviously in towns like Boston and everywhere. I mean, you can hear about abuse cases that happened right here in our San Fernando Valley, and you're wondering, like, well, why did one kid get picked and not another basically survived? And so it can be triggering. So I'm just giving a warning that, even as a Catholic, you got really pissed sometimes. And you're like, in the name of God? Really, in the name of God? Just horrible. So you really root for Lorna. You really do. Like I said, Ruth Wilson, who I loved from The Affair, is killing it. She brings humor to this very, very complex character. So I highly recommend it. It's really her story of her baby being taken and her trauma, trying to find out what happened to her baby in these laundries, and trying to find some sense of justice. And so highly recommend it. Like I said, it's on Showtime. Woman in the Wall. It's 6-part series. Highly recommend it. Although, like I said, it can upset you. Even, for us Catholic school kids, not maybe experiencing that trauma, it's still having known people and grow up in that era. And the more and more we find out, it's so enraging to some degree. Yeah. So, yeah, but it is Ruth Wilson does an excellent job. She really does. So
She's amazing. So, wow. I didn't know what it was about. A very interesting material.
yeah.
Okay.